Hello, everybody, and we are back. We are going to be talking about degrees of certainty again with the present and the past. And once again, let me share my screen so we can all see what's going on. Change it to a slideshow. All right. Ta-da! Degree of certainty. In the last video that I posted, I was only talking about the present, but I'd like to spend some time covering the past as well. The best way to learn the past is to compare it to the present. So let's do that. All right, 100% sure. We talked about being 100% sure. When we are certain of something, 100%, we simply need to use, and this is simple, the simple present tense or the simple past tense. That is so easy, right? We can do this. Good. So when we are 100% sure, the question might be, why is it dark outside this morning? In present tense, we answer with present tense, it is raining. In the past tense, we would ask in past tense, why was it dark outside this morning? And we answer in past tense, it was raining. Is present tense, was past tense. Let's take a look at a few more examples and compare the present and the past tense using 100% certainty. Again, this is pretty easy. This is simply looking at present tense and past tense in their simple forms. Why is the dog barking? I ask in a present tense because he sees a squirrel. Present tense answer. Why was the dog barking? I ask, referring to the past, because he saw a squirrel. Saw representing the past. We can do the same for the following two examples, looking at why is Jenny late and why was Jenny late. If we're talking in the present tense, we would say she has a flat tire, has being the present tense form of the verb. If we were asking in the past tense, we would say she had a flat tire, had being the past tense of the verb. What is that sound? It is an ambulance. It's an ambulance. Is being the present tense. What was that sound? Was being past tense, of course. All right, but we're not always 100% certain, are we? No, not at all. Sometimes we are just a little bit less than 100% certain. In this case, if we're just a little bit less than 100% certain, we want to leave just a little room for doubt. We use the modal must. When we ask the question, why is it dark outside? If I don't know for sure, although I'm taking a really good guess, I would use the modal must and put it right before my verb be. Rather than saying there is a storm coming, I take is, convert it back to its original form to be. I put the must modal in front of it. There must be a storm coming. I'm pretty sure, not 100% sure, more like 90 or 95% sure. There must. How can we change this same idea to past tense? Well, we just need to change the verb slightly. Take a look. Why was it dark outside? Referring to the past, of course. And we would answer in the past tense with the modal must, and then we use have been. We use the perfect form. So there must have been a storm coming. Must have been. Let's take a look at how this works in present tense and past tense with 95% of certainty. So again, this time we're not 100% sure. We're just a little bit less. We want to leave some room for doubt. Why is the dog barking? Remember in our last example when we were sure, we said he sees a squirrel. That's why. I know this. But if we're not quite sure, we'll say he must see a squirrel. We're pretty sure he sees a squirrel, but we can't say that's exactly the reason why the dog is barking. And we can change this to past tense as well. Why was the dog barking? He must have seen a squirrel. That's usually the reason why he barks. 95% of the time, he's barking at a squirrel. When we're talking about Jenny being late, if we're talking about in the present tense, she must have a flat tire. Oh, that's terrible. I can't say that's exactly the reason. I wouldn't say 100% that that would be my really, really good guess. Or if we put it in past tense, we would say she must have had a flat tire. You can see that I've italicized the verbs here, so that way you can tell them apart. Good. What is that sound? It must be an ambulance. What was that sound? It must have been an ambulance. Must have been. Of course, we can absolutely be less certain than 95%, right? Sometimes we really are taking a good guess, but it truly is just a guess. All right. If we are less certain, remember these three, may, might, and could from present tense? That's what we would use, right? Why is it dark outside? Maybe a storm coming. There might be a storm coming. There could be a storm coming. Remember, they all mean the same thing. They all carry the same meaning, but it's still a guess. It's still a guess. 50%. Don't really know. Maybe there's another reason. Why was it dark outside? Okay, now here's how to take those modals and turn them into the past tense when we're taking a really good guess. Do you see how it's done? Oh, so similar, right? May have been, might have been, could have been. Yeah, you've got it. There may have been a storm nearby. There might have been a storm nearby. There could have been a storm nearby. Remember, it all means the same thing. But this is your construction for throwing your guesses into past tense. Let's take a look. All right, here's a situation for you. Your coworker asks you at work, why wasn't our manager at work yesterday? All right, let's pretend you're really sure of the answer. You know exactly why she was not at work. You got the news already, so you're going to tell your coworker. How would you tell your coworker the answer with 100% certainty? Did you say our manager was sick? You'd be correct. Simply putting it in past tense with no modals is the way to say you are 100% sure of your answer. What if you're 95% sure of your answer? Not taking a total guess. Your manager is only ever out from work when she's sick, but you still wouldn't say it for sure, for sure. That's right. Our manager must have been sick. Good. In the past tense, must. Here's must. There's your modal. Have. Okay. Been sick. Very good. Very good. All right. Now, let's say you're taking a total guess. You have no idea, but you're about 50% sure. How would you phrase the answer to your coworker? Yeah. Our manager may have been sick. Our manager might have been sick. Our manager could have been sick. Remember, all three of those work. Or she might have had a meeting. Good. All right, let's try this again. All right, here we have Amin. Oh, poor Amin. He's really upset. Why was Amin upset? Let's pretend someone asked us this question. We need to answer. We know why Amin was upset. We are 100% sure he's upset because the project was delayed. That's why he's upset. The project was delayed. But let's say that we're taking a guess now. We're pretty sure of the answer. We're pretty confident. We just want to leave a little room for error. What would we say then? That's right. The project must have been delayed. Good. The project must have been delayed. Excellent. Now, what would we say? Three choices, remember? If we are less sure than that, if we're taking a pretty good guess, but we're not entirely sure. Right. The project may have been delayed. The project might have been delayed. The project could have been delayed. Or maybe he had an unpleasant meeting with his client. Good. There are our guesses. And it still could be something else that we haven't even thought of. So this leads us to the last part of this video. What about negatives? Because negatives are pretty tricky. Let's take a look here. I've got a few slides to help explain negatives. Okay, when we're talking about negatives, we're talking about putting the not here. So example, why is the dog barking? If we would say it positively, we would say he is happy seeing another dog. But in this case, we want it to be negative. He is not happy seeing another dog. Why is Jenny late? Obviously, we wouldn't say her car is starting. There's nothing positive about answering this question, right? We would need to say not. Her car is not starting. And if someone asks us, what is that sound? And we don't know the answer, maybe we can rule out something. It is not the train. That much I know. So if examples here where we put something in the negative, and we could do that in past tense too. Why was the dog barking? He wasn't happy. Why was Jenny late? Her car didn't start. What was that sound? I don't know. It wasn't the train. All right. So that's 100% certainty in present and past. And you know this, and there's no modals involved, right? We're just simply adding not. So there's a little quick review of how to make things negative, right? All right. But let's say we're 95% or 99% certain in the present and the past, and we're in negative. Now, this is tricky. Could changes. Remember when we were talking about certainty before in positive situations where we're not using the word not, and could was one of our three choices, right? We could use may, we could use might, and we could use could. Now, the tricky part with could is if we're using it in a negative way, we're actually changing where it is with our degree of certainty. For some reason in our language, the moment we add not with could, we change our certainty from around 50% to like 99%. And what's really tricky about this particular situation with could not is that it all has to do with belief. The person who answers with couldn't actually believes that something isn't possible. It couldn't be possible. Do you see that in there? Couldn't be possible. All right. So, for example, what is that sound? I don't know, but it couldn't be the train. Train's not going to come through here. I would not believe that it's the train, right? What was that sound? I don't know, but it couldn't have been the train. There you see the past tense version over here. It couldn't have been the train. Again, this has to do with belief. And so not all situations can use couldn't. You really have to be focused on the fact that someone who answers this way believes that something couldn't be possible. For example, my son will often start looking for more food to eat right after we've just had dinner. And I say to him, you couldn't be hungry. We just ate dinner. But he is. He's a growing boy. I don't believe it, but there it is. It's there. All right, let's talk about belief here. She couldn't possibly get here on time. She left 10 minutes ago and it's a 45-minute drive. I don't believe she will be on time at all. It couldn't be possible. Do you see the belief here? That's why we can use couldn't. And finally, Jerry couldn't have signed the papers. He's in Italy with his family right now. I can't believe I'm not going to believe, it's not even possible to believe that Jerry signed the papers in person, considering I know that he's in another country. Of course, there is that 1% chance that I could be wrong. Couldn't be and couldn't have been in his past tense do not work in all situations. Remember, it has to do with belief, okay? So this is the trickiest part. Could moves from 50% in a positive situation when we say it could be to 99% certainty in the negative situation, and we're tying it to belief. That's the trickiest one here. So you might want to spend some time really comparing the positive with this slide, the negative for could. The rest are easier. All right. We know must, we used it for positive situations. We can also use it for negative situations in the exact same way. So we have one modal for 95% certainty in the negative. It's must. Why is the dog barking? He must be happy. That would be positive. He must not be happy seeing another dog. That is the negative. And we can change it to the past tense as well. Why was the dog barking? He must have been happy. He must not have been happy. There's your negative. Must not have been. Notice that we put not right after the modal. Okay. The not goes between the modal and the verb. That's very important. Why is Jenny late? Well, her car must not be starting. You can see not between must, the modal, and be, the verb. And why was Jenny late? Her car must not have been starting. You can see here the past tense construction must, and then not, and then have been. Okay, very good. And I think you'll pick up on the last two very quickly too. Guess what? May and might still express 50% certainty. They haven't changed. They stay true even in the negative. Why is the dog barking? He may not be happy. He might not be happy. Remember, may and might, you can swap in and out. Why did I choose may in the top and might on the bottom? I just did. You can easily swap them or use may or might whenever you want. It all means the same thing. All right, everybody. So we have come to the end of our presentation, and I hope that you've learned a little bit more about modals and study hard. We've got some tests coming up, and I know that you want to prepare. So do a really good job of studying this presentation and your book. I know you can do it.